Will you call the roll, please?
Richardson.
I'm here.
Garza.
Here.
Magers.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we'll have Pastor Peterson lead us in prayer.
Looks like you got a crowd tonight. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly, most gracious Father, we come before you and we thank you, Lord God, that our city, that Father, we just pray blessings over our city. And Father, we thank you for the wisdom of God that could flow through the city. And we thank you, Father God, for the tonight, and whatever the decisions that need to be made, that Father, they're good decisions. They've been thought out. And Father, there's so many things to thank you for. And I thank you for this night, this blessed night, and Father, for our leadership, for all the leadership within this city. It's not just a one-man show, but Father God, it's a group coming together and helping this to be the best of the best. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Next item.
Item number 4, consent agenda.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to review that and look it over?
Yes.
No questions.
All right. Have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes. Next item.
Item 5, ordinances and resolutions. A, consider an ordinance authorizing bond sale, Series 2024A.
Good evening, Council. Back on September 3rd, the City Council authorized the issuance of general obligation improvement bonds. This morning at 10 o'clock, we opened bids for those bonds. The projects that we bonded are the following: the 6th and Baker Bridge, zoo improvements, fire training center improvements, Rice Park Playground, Fun Valley Turf, and the Bad Bobby Trailhead improvements. We have the bid results for you. I laid them in front of you. The bid results were really close. Country Club Bank won the bid with the true interest rate at 3.47%, which is really good. It's better than we anticipated. We had really good timing with our bonding in relation to the offerings that were out there. So we're very happy with that interest rate. And because of the premium that Country Club Bank offered, we are able to downsize the issuance of these bonds to $4,090,000. So we recommend that you authorize the mayor to sign the ordinance authorizing the issuance and delivery of the general obligation improvement bonds, and the amount would then be $4,090,000. Do you have any questions? And Tyler and Emma from Kutek Rock are here. They're our legal counsel.
Did he have any questions?
No.
I have a procedural question. Does item 5C not require an ordinance as well?
The temp notes, no, it just requires a resolution.
Okay. I move to approve an ordinance authorizing bond sales Series 2024-A and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Item 5B, consider a resolution authorizing bond sales, 2024-A.
So the next item to adopt is the resolution prescribing the form and details and authorizing the delivery of the principal amount of the general obligation bonds. So this is the next step in the approval of issuance of the bonds. So again, we would recommend approving the resolution with the amount of $4,090,000.
I move to approve the resolution in the amount of $4,090,000.
Second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Item 5C, consider resolution authorizing bond sales, Series 2024B.
Okay, this is a resolution for the temp notes, 2024B. On September 3rd as well, you had authorized issuing temp notes for the Plum Creek improvements. This is for the RHID and the special assessment portion that will be assessed against those properties. We again had really good results with this bid. Northland Securities Inc. Won the bid at 3.75%. We were anticipating anywhere up to 5%, so this is a good interest rate as well. Because they were offering a premium as well, we were able to downsize the temp note to $1,590,000. So again, we would recommend approving the resolution for the amount of $1,590,000. Are there any questions?
Is this the last step to the Plum Creek project moving forward?
I'm not sure if the final plat has been approved.
I think we're still working on that.
Okay, that part I'm.
So
not-
just one more hurdle to overcome.
I think the final plat has to be approved, and then I think they can start.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what will happen with the temp notes is when the project is complete, we will issue general obligation bonds. This is just temporary financing until we have permanent costs to assess.
Okay, any other questions?
I move to approve a resolution authorizing bond sales in the amount of $1,590,000, Series 2024-B, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Item 5B, consider a resolution approving a special event in a designated entertainment district for the Southwest Bricktown Fiesta.
Paul Brown, city attorney. The original Southwest Fiesta got rained out, so it needed a new date and has a new location. It's October 26th. The location is right outside City Hall. It will be the section of East B in front of City Hall. It will be George Pyle Park, and also the block of South Walnut in front of Memorial Hall. Those are the only two changes, and would ask the council to approve that.
Will the fiesta start after business hours in front of City Hall, or will it be during business hours in front of City Hall?
It's on a Saturday.
Just checking. Just want to make sure. Keep you guys on your toes here. I don't have any questions.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to authorize a special event in a designated entertainment district pursuant to City Code, Section 18801, for the Southwest Bricktown Fiesta, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Item 5E, consider a resolution approving urban area boundaries and establishing urban area boundary lines in the city of Hutchinson.
Jim Weber, I'm part of your JEO consulting group team that's been providing support services for engineering department. I don't like to touch the tech. Do we have the map? Okay, I don't know. I'll start without, which is fine. So I'm here to talk briefly about the urbanized area boundary map. Federal regulations require the creation and maintenance of a functional classification system of roadways on the federal highway system. The map shows, when we get it up, it shows urban and rural type routes that are based on definitions that come from the census. The classifications are intended to be used nationwide. They don't necessarily match up with local classification systems that may be in use for planning or engineering purposes. The census is updated every 10 years, and each new census triggers a map review and approval process. So you may not have personally seen this happen before. It would have been 10 years ago. The urban area boundary must cover the entire incorporated area of cities over 5,000 population or contiguous incorporated cities. In this case, South Hutch is smaller than 5,000, but it butts up to Hutchinson, so it's one big urban boundary. It tends to be larger area that covers urbanized or urbanizing areas adjacent to cities. This map is really pretty busy, but we're really looking at three things. So the city limits are in this yellow color. And that needs to be basically all inside the urban area boundary. Oh, good, I like that one. The census urbanized area, which may include the city limits and adjacent areas. It's a little hard to pick up on here, but there's kind of this gray out here. And then the urban area boundary, which is this brighter yellow line, which is expected to be larger and smooth out, and it's big enough to cover the expected growth area over a 10-year period. Most significant change made to this map is the addition of this 3-mile strip that runs down to catch the Growth Inc. parcel. That's your public-private partnership down south on K96. The thought is that services are likely to be needed in this area to facilitate growth and inclusion in the urban area boundary, may open a pathway to federal funds that are intended for urban areas. Once this map is approved by the City of Hutchinson and the City of South Hutchinson, the Reno County Commission is asked to provide concurrence on the map. The approval documents are then submitted to KDOT. So South Hutchinson took this up last night and they did approve the map. You have it tonight, and Reno County is working to get it on their next agenda for the 23rd, which would wrap this whole thing up. Now, to be clear, there's still a process of actually, this doesn't include the routes, so there's a route map process that we're working on right now. We'll be back to you by the end of the year with that to make a few changes, try to make some changes to the routes. So these are classifications like collectors, arterials, minor, major, principal arterials, all those things. I've looked at it. I've got 3 areas in mind. One of them is in South Hutchinson, 2 of them are in Hutchinson, but we're starting to run that around the staff and review that. So we'll be back again. Some types of funding may be used for urban areas and some only for rural areas. Some require that a road be classified at a certain level in hierarchy. It's difficult to predict where you need to be with anything. If it's trying to engineer to capture funding, you just have to try to classify it. And as the federal government wants to target a particular area, they'll call out, is it urban funds, is it rural funds, they have to be an arterial. This is kind of where the map makes a difference. The goal is to plan for 5 to 10 years into the future. Really pretty much covers it. Again, we'll be back later this year to try to clean up the other one and be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
So this is really just a classification mechanism for funding,
Absolutely.
for roads for the most part.
Federal road funding. So, for example, when Bill, the big package came out, there were things that were specifically targeted for rural areas that you couldn't get a hold of. There were things targeted for urban areas and big urban areas. I mean, they can slice and dice things up, and there's so many pieces.
So because, I'm just asking, we're kind of in that population where we're sometimes considered rural and sometimes considered urban, I guess. So does this put us where we're more leaning towards one category versus another, or is it dependent on each agency and what they consider to be rural or urban?
It's defined here. I mean, the census defines it. We're saying what is rural and urban in this map here in Reno County.
Okay.
And then we're at their mercy what they decide to target with the funding.
Okay.
But I think generally there's probably more funding available urban than there is rural. Just because there's bigger population centers, it's probably more robust funding. But sometimes they will specifically go out and just try to get to the small populations in rural areas.
Okay.
So what this does is you've already got a boundary. It's just adjusting out a little bit in some places. And so that sort of fringe will change.
It's trying to say, into the future 10 years, here's where we may be. We might need to have funding for these
We should plan that way.
perimeter areas.
Yes.
Okay.
Does it change the classification of anything major, like a bridge or any bridges specifically?
When we go to the next map, which actually takes each route and says, is this a collector, is this an arterial? It really doesn't, I guess it doesn't really change it, but again, that's the piece that, this sets up your boundary, then we'll decide what are the routes inside.
Okay.
And that will trigger what funding you're eligible for. And some things that aren't even on the system are still eligible for funding. It's just that often the federal government's trying to target higher traffic problems, which is usually where you want to spend the money to fix big problems.
And just as a note, this has been going on since 1973. Every 10 years we update this map, correct?
That's right.
All right.
I move to approve a resolution improving urban area boundaries and establishing urban area boundary lines in the city of Hutchinson, Kansas.
I'll second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Maggard.
Yeah.
Goff.
Yes.
Bath.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Item 5F, consider a resolution setting a date for a public hearing regarding taxi service pursuant to Hutchinson City Code, Section 16-105.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. Tyrone Riley has submitted an application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a taxi service within the city of Hutchinson, and Mr. Riley is present. He wishes to move forward with this matter. Under the city code, we must provide notice. Well, under the city code, we must schedule a time and place for a public hearing and provide notice to all existing taxi services. We are showing in the proposed resolution for that to occur on November 5 at 5:30, and I would ask the council to approve that resolution.
Isn't that voting day? That's voting day, right? November 5th.
It is.
And does that date work for him? And
Yes.
is the date requested? Okay.
I move to approve a resolution setting a date for a public hearing regarding taxi service pursuant to Hutchinson City Code Section 16-105.
Second.
Richardson.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Maggard.
Yes.
Goff.
Yes.
Bath.
Yes.
Item 6, new business, snow removal plan.
Evening, Council. Cecil Webble, Public Works Interim Director. Ryan and I are going to give a quick demonstrate and talk about what the snow plan is for this year and introduce a few things. Ryan's going to go through kind of the process first of what equipment we have and some of our calibrations, and then I'm going to step in on the process and answer some questions at the end about as we move forward with some starting to do snow removal on residential areas.
Like Cecil said, I'm Ryan, interim street superintendent. Just to start off, every year we kind of get a game plan on what's to come and then prepare for whatever events are going to come our way this year. So as you can see, over the last 20 years, we've had an average of 14 inches of snowfall per year in our region. In Kansas, it kind of varies between 11 inches and 40 inches, depending on what area you're in. But that's kind of where we stand currently. And it also shows the amounts by year. This is from the NOAA. So these are kind of the projections that are coming for this year. We're kind of sitting in the middle of equal chances for both temperature and precipitation. So it's looking like an average year is basically what these maps are showing you. There's an equal chance we could get more, there's equal chances we could get less. So they will have an updated map, I believe, in 2 weeks. That is going to be a little more in depth, but that is not out currently. Going into some of our preparations, we make sure to have our materials on hand as far as salt and salt brine made before each season, and then also train our staff. So this last week, we actually did a training day going over equipment, calibration of the equipment, how to operate the equipment, and also how to make brine, because we make that in-house. This is some of the preparations, some pictures shown of people loading up snow plows, getting things ready, inspecting the equipment. If there's any issues with the equipment before the season, we want to make sure those are checked off and get those to the central garage so they can make those repairs. Each year, we also calibrate our spreaders. We want to calibrate those for to 250 to 300 pounds per lane mile of salt used. That way we're putting out adequate chemical for treatment. And then as far as the brine goes, as I said before, we make our own brine. And we use that for pre-treatment of roads. We have 2 liquid application systems we can use to pre-treat all the streets in town. Usually that process takes a few days to get through in any event that we're knowing snow might be coming. This diagram kind of shows what temperature salt brine works at. So if you see in the blue areas of the diagram, that's pretty much showing where it will not melt anything. So there's a eutectic point when it comes to salt brine, and that is at -6 degrees. So it will be ineffective at that point. So we have to kind of plan when we use that, and also be careful when we're actually making it, we're hitting that point so it's the most effective. And this shows the impact that pre-wetting does when we're treating the roads. So if you pre-wet your salt, it melts the snow at a faster rate because it kind of acts as a catalyst. So it creates that reaction. Instead of just putting dry salt on ice, it gets that process started. So it shows the difference. The equipment we have for use is 8 dump trucks equipped with salt spreaders and plows, 3 front loaders, 3 road graders, 1 backhoe, 2 dump trucks without any equipment in them, and those will be used for hauling snow off on areas like Main Street, anywhere we can plow the road, or a lot of downtown areas with parking. So we haul those off, that way it doesn't refreeze and create an issue later. And then upcoming is our plan for having 4 one-ton trucks with plows to do residentials, and all that seats will go into more of the operations on that.
So Public Works has, we have broken the categories of storms up into 5 categories, and they range from anything from a light mist on a freezing day where we might get slick spots on bridges or something higher up in the air, all the way to a category, condition 5, which would basically be for this area blizzard conditions, white out, can't see anything. With each of those conditions, as we're working through, we up our response. So at the very beginning, it's just a chance we'll have somebody on call. That on-call person will kind of monitor the weather, check and make sure everything's going. If there's a chance that they need to come out an hour before a storm event should start, they come in and actually drive the road, start checking bridge decks, make sure everything's good. At the moment that they start seeing any accumulation, they'll start calling in a crew as needed. That crew can range from just 2 more operators to run bridges while that other operator maintains contact with dispatch if anything else comes in, all the way up to our full-blown, we'll run a full crew, 15 people, 12-hour shifts around the clock. So we'll have 2 shifts running 24 hours a day. And we'll run that as long as it needs to get the streets back to normal. While the city of Hutch has never actually had a dry pavement policy, we do strive for having dry pavement on our arterial streets 48 hours after a snow event ends. 2013 was one of the years we couldn't hit that. It was temperatures weren't cooperating. There was nothing we could do. Like Ryan was saying on the salt, it was so cold that our salt just wasn't doing anything. We were kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature. But when we are running, we have 8 primary routes. 7 of those are what we consider our arterial and collector street outs, and those are the ones in the multicolored straight lines. All of our routes are designed so one truck should be able to leave the shop, be able to go out, and if it's just salting, they should be able to salt that whole route and be back at the shop before they're empty. So that's at 250 to 300 pounds per lane miles. The routes are designed around that distance So we're being as efficient as we can, and we don't have to go halfway out, stop, come back, get more salt. Our 8th route is what we call our school route. If we know schools are going to be in session the next day, then we make sure we hit those schools and plow everything around for them and salt them as well. If we already know schools are canceled, we can use that extra truck to help on some of these other routes. And then as we're moving forward, we're going to be throwing residentials into this. So the idea right now, and this is preliminary, we're still going through it, with the 4 pickup trucks that are going to be able to do residential streets. If everything's going perfectly, they'll be able to start that at the same time as the big trucks are doing the arterials. If we're having a shortage on people or something's going on, the arterials are always going to be our first priority. Once we get those done, we will get people into the residential. On a normal Kansas storm, 2 inches to 4 inches, we're planning on being able to go into those residential areas and plowing basically in and out. So we'll plow that street twice, giving everybody about a 16-foot pass to get to a street to drive. Now, they may have to jump over a little bit of a wind road to get to that street, but right now, until we can get all the residents to understand, we don't know if we can safely get curb to curb on residential streets. They're too tight. But what we plan is right now, that color in the background is kind of your guys' map. So we're planning on having 1 truck start in each of the zones that go along with the city council. That way we're trying to be as equal to the city as we can, and we'll work it. If one zone gets done faster, they'll help the other zone. Now I know some of those zones look really big compared to some of the northwest corner doesn't look that big, but it's actually got a lot more residential streets in that zone than the others. I mean, the southeast, the airport, or the northeast has the airport. That takes up big space. There's no residential streets, so it looks bigger, but it's about equal as far as space goes. The one thing we always want to remind the public is some of our equipment is large. A normal dump truck is a 10-foot wide plow. We're trying to get down some streets. We need room. So if they're parking on both sides of the street, we're not going to be able to get through it safely. We don't want to damage their vehicles. We don't want our drivers getting in position. So if it's too tight on a residential street, we will skip that street until we can make arrangements to get down it safely. So we just always want to throw that to everybody. We do have GPS on all of our vehicles. We can monitor them. There is discussion in the future about maybe having a map that the citizens can see. Right now, we're not there. That's probably spending some money we don't have, and we got to get there first. But we do have it where our dispatchers can see it, our snow bosses can see it. They know where trucks are. If a fire truck needs us to salt a special location, we don't have to call around and see who's closer. We can look and see. So the other thing we always want to touch base on this time of the year is ice storms, because we tend to have more ice storms than we do snowstorms. So same thing's going to happen. We're going to have crews out, but instead of plowing or salting, they're going to be out moving trees. They're going to be setting barricades. They're going to be working with the fire department and dispatch to make sure nobody's crossing the lines, working with Evergy on down power lines. So we just always ask, if citizens are out in an ice storm, the best thing is stay home. Yeah, if you can't stay home, just watch out for heavy equipment. Don't drive down a street that has barricades across it, because there's reason there's barricades across it. And just because it looks open to you, that doesn't mean there's not a down power line halfway down that street you can't see. So, and then just some tips. You know, if you don't have to have your car on the street, especially if you know we're going to be plowing, park up in your driveway. Give us the room. If you have to travel, make sure everything's ready. If you do shovel your driveway, just the trick is, if you shovel it to the right-hand side facing the road, it's less likely to get piled shut as bad, because that's the direction we're traveling. That snow bridge has to go somewhere. So, and then of course stock up on necessities and give snow plows a room. So, any questions?
How much will this cost?
We are currently getting bids on the 4 new plows we'll need. They are averaging somewhere between 9,000 and 12. But we don't have that nailed down 100% yet.
There'll be 4 of those?
4 of those. And those will be a V-plow style. They can rotate out, so it gives us a little more clearance if we need to get down a tight street. But it's something we haven't had any V-plows before in the city, so that's something kind of new. But we think it'll give us our best benefit to help everything we need.
What's the width on those?
They'll be 8 foot, 8'6". Yeah.
Also, speak to the advantage of keeping a road clear just from maintenance of the asphalt.
Yeah.
My understanding is there is some benefit.
Absolutely.
to
So
that.
Ideally, if you can keep the snow and ice off of a street, you don't get that freeze-fall cycle on the street. It doesn't get down into the cracks, into the surface, and start popping out and making what everybody loves, potholes afterwards. So if we can keep that snow off the road into the gutter pan, when it melts, it stays out of that. It doesn't refreeze. Safety hazard of when it refreezes and runs across slick spots. But just for the maintenance of the road, keeping it clear is a benefit to us.
How long do you think in a typical, well, no, I don't say typical, in a 2 to 4 inch snow for those 1 tons to cover those routes on those streets?
Right now we haven't ran it completely, but we're just guessing. If everything goes smoothly, we should be able to get that done in a normal, probably in a 24 to 48 hour period, and have them all clear. That's what we're shooting for, but until the first night it truly happens, I
don't know.
I don't know.
Are you going to salt those after you plow them, or are you going to?
At this moment, we're not planning on salting residential streets. A lot of the surfaces of the residential streets don't necessarily have, they do have some open cracks and stuff. Right now, we're not planning on salting those. Plus, all of our salt spreaders are on the big trucks, and we think we could actually do more damage. So we're right now doing that. We are trying to, if everything's ahead of schedule, we plan on, if we know an ice event's coming or something heavy, we are going to try to start maybe pre-treating those residentials after the arterials are done.
How would you notify somebody that they're parked in a spot that is prohibiting you from plowing that street?
Honestly, in the middle of the night, we probably wouldn't. We would just skip. But we are telling our drivers to take a picture, get that address, and then the next day we can reach out through and usually go through
Utility billing?
Yeah, to find an address.
Okay. I love this plan personally. As the person who sends the text messages and the emails, I don't make the judgment call, but I send those alerts for the school district, for Hutch. You know, we try to make the call around the same time that Nickerson and Bueller and Haven and everybody else is, but you know, living in Hutch is different than living in Bueller, and how far you have to drive and what type of road you're driving on. So there were a couple of days that, I don't know, like January, when it was so bad, right? 1 or 2 days that we didn't cancel, but I think Bueller and, trying to remember, I think Bueller and Haven did. And those might have been fog days, but regardless, you know, I think this just kind of contributes to that mindset of we are doing things differently. We are able, because we have better resources, or we're using them better. So we're offering our residents a little more service. So I really appreciate this plan and the work that you and the whole team have put into this. And I know you still have a lot of kinks to figure out, but I look forward to seeing this in practice. I think it's going to be a huge benefit, and there will be kinks to work out for sure. I think there's I can foresee a number of streets that are going to be challenging to get down. And then you also have like our brick roads that they have depressions in them that I don't know how this. Do you plow those or?
Yeah, so we're looking at getting rubber plows.
Okay.
They're more of a squeegee style plow, so they're a little more forgiving on our drivers and the streets versus a steel plow.
So the 4 new plows will be.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So they should be able to get down them, but if there's a big enough depression, especially a brick street, it's going to leave a spot that there's just not a whole lot we can do in that little location.
Do you plow at a little higher setting on those then, or do you plow them at the same height as the other streets?
Yeah, it's the same as the other streets. Yes.
Okay. What's the maintenance like? Because I don't think we have rubber plows right now.
We actually do. Most of our trucks do have rubber plows, but our big trucks have rubber plows with a carbide insert.
Okay.
So it just helps them wear a little slower. But historically, Hutch has always had rubber plows on our trucks.
And so what's the maintenance on a $9,000 rubber plow? How long does it last?
Depending on how bad the storm is, if it's a nice, actually fairly fluffy snowstorm, then we don't put much wear and tear on it. It's those heavy, wet snows that pack up and kind of weighs it down. I don't know on these new plows, but on our older plows, after every snow event, we had to readjust those rubbers back down. And we would get about 3 snowstorms out of a rubber plow before we'd either have to flip it or actually get a new rubber blade for it.
Okay.
The biggest thing I hear from is there's nothing you can do about it. It's when they plow streets, you plow their driveways. people have to get out. So people just have to remember that's just part of it. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the staff to go out and clear all the driveways in town. And even if we did, where would we start? Because there's always somebody that has to get out of their house earlier than somebody else.
Right.
There's just no way to do that fairly or equitably for the city. So the other thing we want to touch base on is there is a lot of private roads in Hutch. We won't be plowing those. So if it's, and a lot of people get confused on what's a private road and what's not, but if it's not something the city maintains for normal usage, then we're also not going to be plowing that street.
How about alleys? Do you plow the alleys?
We don't currently plow any alleys. We do, however, occasionally we'll salt some of the downtown alleys that are so tight that all the runoff from the roofs just melts and there's no way to get sun there. So we would salt those with one of our other small trucks, but currently we haven't been talking about plowing any alleys yet. Kind of the same issues. They have a lot of doorways right off the alleys. If we plowed that, are we going to plow somebody's doorway shut? Some of those doors are glass. We don't want to take a chance of breaking the door or anything. So at the moment, we're not considering the alleys plowing.
You said you had 15 people on each, like 12-hour shift, correct?
If this, when the street department's fully staffed, we do.
So what do you have for backup? So
We also, just within Public Works alone, we have a couple of guys in engineering over there, that have CDLs. They can help back up as well, and central garage. And if it gets that bad and we have to, we can also reach out to other divisions, water, sewer, and see if they have CDL drivers as well that can help us out.
Okay. Is there any way to make sure DeGarmo does not work in my district on the snowplow?
We'll talk.
Okay, appreciate that.
So what are you guys going to do all spring if you don't have to fill in the potholes?
Just picking on them.
Oh, we've got plenty of backlog work.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got plenty of other areas that we've got some backlog work that we could be getting onto. So.
And I would like to add that while we've been working through this, even though we are making purchases for some plows, all of this can be done or should be able to be done within our current budget as it's been approved. So, thought I'd throw that out there.
And I will say those rubber 5-inch things that go on those plows, they're hundreds of dollars, not thousands. So once you buy the plow, in theory, they should last a long time.
Yeah, the ones we've got on the bigger trucks have the carbon inserts. They're a little more expensive, but we're running on our 3rd year on the same plows. So that was a good investment. We don't know if they make them for the smaller trucks yet. We're still kind of going through that process.
You might add, when I worked for the city, you'd have a mechanic on duty who stands by to take care of any problems, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have a mechanic comes in at the same time. If we call a full crew in, a mechanic comes in as well, just in case we have any problems in the field. The mechanic's ready to answer. You guys good?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Did you open up for public comment?
I don't know, does anybody here would like to speak about, have public comment on this? This is just a presentation, but we'd be happy to listen. No real thing to decide here. It's what we're going to try, and we'll see how it works, and we'll see the feedback we get from the community, and hopefully we can start doing things that your city government is tasked to do. And this would be one thing that I think would make living in Hutchinson better and more enjoyable. So we're going to give it a shot. Next item.
Item 7, proclamations.
All right. Well, Jacob Miley, meet me at the podium. Is he here? All right. Very good. We've got some proclamations we're going to do. Welcome. This proclamation is for Imagine a Day Without Water. So we've talked a lot about water in the very recent days. In fact, we've updated our water conservation policy, and so I think this is very timely. In recognition of the 10th annual Imagine a Day Without Water on October 17th, the City of Hutchinson hereby resolves. Whereas, Imagine a Day Without Water is a national day of action that raises awareness about and appreciation for our most essential resource. And whereas, the water infrastructure of the city of Hutchinson delivers clean drinking water to 40,000 residents per day and then safely returns the water to the environment. And whereas, reliable water services are essential to the quality of life, environment, and economic vitality of the city of Hutchinson. And whereas a day without water would be a public health and safety crisis, limiting the functionality of firefighters, hospitals, businesses, and homes. Whereas reliable water services help to drive a healthy economy, providing workforce opportunities, protecting business continuity, and supporting healthy and happy communities. And whereas the nation's water infrastructure is aging and in need of investment, resulting in water main breaks every 2 minutes somewhere in the country. And whereas an estimated 2 million Americans are living without access to adequate drinking water and sanitation. And whereas Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, as well as low-income communities, are more likely to experience a lack of water and sanitation than are white and affluent communities. And whereas, by recognizing the true value of water in our lives, we can help secure a healthy water future for everyone in our community and for all Americans. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Hutchinson recognizes that water is essential to the quality of life, public safety, economic health, and accordingly acknowledges the importance of raising awareness about the value of water through participation in the Imagine a Day Without Water National Day of Action. And be it further resolved that the City of Hutchinson is dedicated to investing in safe and reliable water and wastewater systems and calls on our local, state, and federal partners to continue dedicating the funding necessary to protect and restore our nation's critical water infrastructure. Now therefore, I, Greg Fast, the Mayor of Hutchinson, do hereby proclaim October 17th is Imagine a Day Without Water. Thank you, Jason. Jacobs, excuse me. Oh, I guess we have to pose for a picture. Thanks. All right, we have a couple more special proclamations here. Gary Meager, will you come up here for a second? How are you?
Fine, how are you doing?
We just wanted to take a part of this meeting to thank you for your work here at the city. I know you're retired, or you thought you were. Here's a key to the city. I'm going to read a proclamation. You can frame it, put it up, or throw it away, whatever you want to do. But I know that many of us up here appreciate your work with the city. I appreciate, I've said it before, how you've taught me many things just by your example and the things you've said to me, and so it's personal for me too. So whereas the City of Hutchinson is privileged to recognize individuals whose exceptional contributions significantly enhance the well-being of our community, and whereas Gary Meager has served as interim city manager and interim assistant city manager on multiple occasions, stepping up each time with unwavering dedication and commitment to excellence. And whereas his willingness to return and assist in running a city not once but several times speaks volumes about his devotion to the residents of Hutchinson and the integrity of our city government. And whereas Gary's extensive experience, knowledge, and leadership have provided invaluable guidance during transitional periods, ensuring that our city continued to operate smoothly and effectively. And whereas his collaborative spirit and ability to build bridges have fostered teamwork, unity among staff, enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of our municipal operations. And whereas Gary's genuine care for the community and commitment to public service has left a lasting impact on both his colleagues and the residents he has served. Now therefore, I, Greg Fast, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby present the key to the city to Gary Meager in a heartfelt recognition of his extraordinary service and contributions. We honor his steadfast commitment to our city and express our deepest gratitude for his willingness to lead during critical times. May this key symbolize our appreciation and serve as a reminder of the lasting legacy he leaves within this community. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, yeah, if I could just say a few words. I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to work for the city, to work for you, and certainly the staff. You've got a great staff. This is a great city, and it's been a real pleasure and an honor to be able to do this. I also want to, recognize your commitment and tenacity on hiring the right people for this position as city manager. Enrico's done a great job. Mary Grace has really filled in, and it was really a pleasure for me to work with her. I learned a lot. She's got a lot of energy and a lot of ideas that she's put into play, and I think that Enrico has picked up on a lot of that and is carrying that through. And it's just been a real honor for me to be a part of this. So thank you all so much. Thank you, all the staff. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, as you might guess, it's your turn, Mary Grace.
Thank you, sir.
Key to the
Thank
city.
you.
I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah.
Known you long before this, and just remember a time when I first met you at Stratica. I'm like, who is this woman? And anyway, I appreciate what you've done. I won't get into what I most appreciate about you, but
thank you.
But I will read the proclamation. So, and then you'll have a chance to share a few words, and you can frame this or throw it away as well. So,
appreciate that.
Whereas Mary Grace Clemens has served with unwavering dedication as our interim city manager, leading our city with integrity, vision, and compassion during a pivotal time in our community. And whereas her commitment to transparency, inclusivity, and effective governance has inspired both city staff and residents alike, fostering a collaborative spirit that has enhanced our city's growth and resilience. And whereas Mary Grace has gone above and beyond the call of duty, extending her tenure for longer than anticipated, demonstrating her dedication to the well-being of our city and its residents. And whereas her strong leadership has served as a guiding force for our council, city staff, and community, bridging gaps and fostering collaboration among diverse groups. And whereas her genuine love for people and her deep passion for our community have touched the hearts of everyone she's encountered, inspiring us all to work together for a better future. And whereas her kindness, resilience, and visionary leadership have left an indelible mark on our city, and we are profoundly grateful for the impact she has made during her time with us. Whereas, under her stewardship, our city has navigated challenges and seized opportunities, ensuring the essential services were maintained and community needs were met with grace and efficiency. Whereas, as Mary Grace steps down from her role, we recognize her exceptional service and leadership and express our profound gratitude for her tireless efforts on behalf of our city. And whereas, it is fitting that we honor her legacy and dedication with a symbol of our appreciation, the key to the city, as a token of our appreciation and respect. And now, therefore, I, Greg Fass, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, do hereby present the key to the city to Mary Grace Clemens in a heartfelt recognition of her extraordinary service and contributions. We honor her steadfast commitment to our city and express our deepest gratitude for her willingness to lead during critical times. We wish her all the best in her future endeavors and encourage everyone in our community to join in expressing our deepest gratitude.
Thank you so much. Thank Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will tell you, it's been quite a ride and quite an honor. And I stand here humbled. I stand here grateful. And I stand here honored. Because, number one, the Council, without your trust, and, you know, you took a risk. I don't think you knew what you were getting into. I don't think I knew what I was getting into. I will tell you that it's been so honorable. The team that's here, the staff, we are so lucky in this city to have the dedicated employees we have that show up every day. And I will forever, from this day forward, continue to tout their excellence, their commitment, their hard work, and their dedication. And I echo everything Gary has said. It's been an honor to work with Gary. He's been just a joy and a pleasure, and he's taught me a lot of different things as well. And I am so inspired by the direction and every hard work, and the thing with Enrico's taking the helm here is the absolute right person at the right time for this community. And I am so excited to be on the sidelines with my popcorn watching all the great things that are going to unfold, because I am telling you the best is yet to come for this community, because we have the right people in the right positions at the right time, working collaboratively with all of our partners in this city and in this county and in this region to make all the progress that we desperately need. The best is yet to come, and I am so honored, and thank you for any part that I've had in stepping in to walk through this journey. And I appreciate all the hard work and trust that you put in me. So thank you so much.
John, do you have some words? You hired her.
Yeah, do we have any open positions in other departments that she can fill in? She can snowplow in my neighborhood. How's that, Greg?
Funny. All right, next item. This is a time when we like to hear from the public, and if there's somebody here that would like to speak to the council on any subjects, wide open here, you'll have 5 minutes to address the council, and we'd love to hear from you. All right. Hearing none. All right, Steve.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. You guys are making it really great coming out and coming to the city council. Mary Grace, thank you so much, ma'am. You caught us, and Gary, you caught us in a bad time. Not caught us, but we just had 2 city managers, and you did a great job. You kept the city together, kept us all together, kept us all working together as a team, and we couldn't have done it without you. We just couldn't do it. So I really appreciate it, what you did for us, and we'll see what happens. And Mr. Rico, and bringing Mr. Rico here, great. It's just great. As you know, they said October 26th is the new the fiesta. We got rained out last time. A great band's coming. It's called Deputencia. Deputencia is a well-known band in Hutchinson. My dad used to have a club here, and Deputencia used to play here all the time. And it's one of my favorite bands. And I love dancing to Mexican music. Come out and see what it's all about. You'll have a great time. I don't know. Enrico, you done a good job still. Hanging in there. By the way, I'll tell you a little story about Enrico. I took him to this prison this last week. He went through the prison, and I told him some scary stories before he got in, and it was real fun with him. I told him, if they start whistling at you, don't worry about it. It's just part of the game. I told him, when those doors close, don't worry about it. It's part of the game. When you got to worry is when the doors don't open. But he was a good sport about it. So other than that, we're in a great city. As you can tell, it's coming. Hutchinson's going places. I always tell people, It's like Mary Grace said, there's yet to come. You're going to see it. It's going to come. We have a great council. We have great people working here, and it's going to happen. So other than that, sir, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. John?
I mean, I gotta say thank you, Gary. Thank you, Mary Grace. I don't know what else I can say above and beyond that. We'll talk privately. Greg, I'm just teasing you. You know it's all love, right? All right, just checking. I would like to congratulate the zoo on their accreditation. I want to make sure we mention that. It was a big deal. If no one saw that, there was a press release on that on Facebook, and I know some other news outlets probably carried that. And it's a big deal for our community, our zoo. I think that's all I got.
All right, Scott?
Yeah, I want to echo everyone else. Gary and Mary Grace, yeah, thanks you for everything you've done, getting us through that time when we needed somebody to step up and give us some great leadership from both of you. And then we got that community meeting coming up on November 4th. That'll be a great to get more people out in the community to come talk with us and push us in a positive direction. And then also, I haven't heard a whole lot of news from the Lakeview Panorama area, which is good. So the stop signs, I think, are working. So we'll continue working on that. So that's all I've got.
All right. Stacy?
Thank you. I don't know what you're saying. Thank you for the time that you invested in us as a council and the time that you gave back to the residents of Hutch. Your service is definitely appreciated. I have a question for Paul. I know you love these. I was just curious if there are any other businesses that we require that were like required by code to give advance notice that a competitor is opening up, like the same way that we do for taxi service.
Well, no, we don't. And that's because we don't have business licenses at all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an outgrowth of when the city had its own taxi service.
Right. Okay. So as we continue the conversation of changing that code, that's something that I would encourage the council to look at, because I think that that's doing them a disservice. We don't require a lawn company to notify every other lawn company in town that they're opening up. It's just something that a process thing that caught me off guard. Regardless, and with all due respect about the public comment, I am going to once again urge us to move the public comment back to the beginning of the meetings. I think that when we moved to night meetings and we said that one of the metrics that we wanted to use to judge the success of night meetings is how many people attend council meetings, but then we at the same time moved public comment to the end of the meetings, I think that we kind of screwed up the experiment, because it just doesn't seem like we're truly listening to what people want to say if we make them sit through an hour meeting before we allow them to speak on their open comment. That's my 2 cents. And that probably won't be the last time that I bring it up either.
Where were you when we made that decision?
We didn't make a decision.
Oh. I thought we discussed it.
It was just done.
I thought we discussed it.
No.
Well, and it is less than an hour, and if people are wanting to be involved, I'm sure they're happy to sit and listen to the meeting because they're here to be involved.
But if you look at the meeting a couple of weeks ago that ran 4 hours long, and
Yes.
the public comment was opened up at the end of that meeting, there was a person who left. There was another group that emailed me and said that they also left in the middle because they could tell that the meeting was just running very long, to the point where they didn't see the value in staying. So it's something to consider. We don't have to get it right every single time. Like, we can change things on the fly.
I think going forward, why don't we just change it? Why don't we put that at the beginning like it was? We'll put the proclamations at the end, because I want the public to be engaged. That's the whole reason we did this. And quite frankly, it seems like there is more public engagement now with folks that are here that weren't here before, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
You know, if we move the public comment at the beginning, we probably should move the proclamations as well. So that way, if we were trying to recognize someone, they're not sitting here for, say,
Yeah.
those 4 hours.
I suppose so. I just know the rationale and the thought was, we're paying people to be here and all those things. But, I suppose it's only taken us 10 minutes for proclamations. There wasn't anybody to speak. So, I'm okay with that. I'm certainly not hard and fast on that. And it certainly wasn't a punishment or anything.
Right.
It was just how we were
I think it was
up.
just an unintentional thing, and I think your reasoning made a lot of sense, but in practice, the evidence showed that it wasn't quite working. So,
Well, and, I hope and pray that we don't have 4-hour meetings on the regular.
that would be nice. Yeah.
Tuesday night meetings, but we'll keep working in that direction too. Fair enough. That's done.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. What else?
School zone signage.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with Fire Chief Beer during the state fair about just kind of an offhanded conversation about school zone entry points. So at almost every single school zone, there's at least one entry point where you turn onto or you turn into the school zone, and there is no indicator besides a building that you are now in a school zone with a lowered speed limit. You can still receive a ticket, and granted, not every driver who drives through a school zone lives in the city of Hutch or is aware of what building is a school, etc. So I would encourage our engineering staff to take another look at the entry points that are coming into the school zones. The one that I can think of right off the top of my head is like when you're southbound on Halstead and you turn right onto 30th. Yes, there's a school building there, but the flashers are way down the street. So there is no indicator of, is it still a school zone based on the time or based on, what that building is.
Isn't there a school zone sign right north of 30th and Halstead?
Nope.
No.
I don't think so. And I will tell
I
you,
was thinking there
Stacy, that you have made one citizen in this community very happy, and that is my wife. She got a ticket in the example that you gave and couldn't get out of it. The judge
Right,
said,
because
sorry.
saying you didn't know is not a defense.
Exactly.
Of,
So
yes.
I don't know what this might entail, but it's worthy of a conversation with staff.
Well, so the MUTCD is the Bible that the engineers use that determines the placement of where these are. So another thing that was brought to my attention by Traffic Officer Hammond is he believes that some of our signs are not in the correct position as listed in the ordinance. So I know he has a presentation. I wasn't able to get a hold of him for today. For this meeting, but I know he has a presentation about this as well. So the other thing is, in the same vein, is I requested a cost estimate for what it would cost to put up a set of flashing lights at every school zone for the so there's 6 elementaries and 2 middle schools, and because Central Christian, Union Valley, and Plum Creek those are warranted to be there because they're 45-mile-an-hour speed limits. So the last estimate that I received was, I think January or February. It was about $11,500 for a set, and those were solar powered. I believe that, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that those were the same ones that were put at UV and Plum Creek, but maybe not the exact same set that we would need to put if we're putting them in town, because they could possibly be hardwired if they're in town. So I don't have the cost estimate back yet, but I think it's something that for a future agenda item, you're looking at, I don't know, $80,000, $90,000 to put a set of flashers at every single school zone in the city. I think that provides a lot of equity to every student. Because it's easy to look at the schools that have the flashers, and it's the 2 Bueller schools, and it's a private school. But every single Hutchinson school does not have those. So it's easy to take a look at that and think that the Hutchinson students are not being served in the same manner. So yeah, flashers, more signs. And I believe Officer Hammond, when he comes to speak to us, is also going to present about lowering the speed limit on 30th. We talked about it a year ago with JEO, and doing the road diet in that corridor from Waldron to K61, I believe. They said that we would have to do that in advance of doing any other work on that corridor. But then the topic has not come up again since then. So,
Didn't what we do fix what the issue was on 30th? I mean, we have a speed limit there, a school zone speed limit, and we changed the lights so that we don't have a dangerous left turn. You're wanting to do more than that? I mean, I feel like that fixed the problem. I don't know. I'm asking.
I look forward to hearing Officer Hammond's presentation because I don't believe that it did. It's still, it's like a random strip that's 45 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden it drops to 30. Or the other way, it all of a sudden increases to 45.
Where does it drop to 30?
By Sonic, when you cross the bridge. Or 35. So 30
Oh,
35.
45 to 35. Okay.
Yeah. So, something to consider for future agenda items. And when I get a hold of Officer Hammond, I'll ask him when he wants to come speak to us. But I know he's done a lot of research of his own. And then one event to tell everybody about, also on October 26th from 2 to 5 is the Shop and Treat Halloween contest or Halloween trick-or-treat event sponsored by the Downtown Hutch group that will run all along downtown Main Street. So you could go to that and then go to the Bricktown Fiesta. And that's all I have.
All right. Well, very good. I would echo the council's thoughts on the appreciation that we have for Gary and Mary Grace. Thank you for your service. And I did want to mention that we did get the TA grant that we've been talking about for forever. We've held off on fixing some things in hopes that we get this, which I am highly suspicious of, but we got it. About $1 million in improvements for downtown streets, sidewalks, crosswalks, and maybe we can do the little painting experiment that I've mentioned 100 times. So anyway, I'm excited for that. That's very good for our city, to have things marked better and to have trip hazards taken care of, and possibly maybe even some new furniture down there. Again, Southwest Bricktown Fiesta, you've mentioned that. That is all I have. Enrico, what do you have?
Council, you've covered a lot of the highlights that I was going to mention as well. But I will turn it over to Jason Lady, our building official, and then Justin Combs and his team as well. They'll kind of go after each other.
Good evening to council members. Jason Lady, building official. Just wanted to give a quick update on the progress for the atrium demolition. We did talk with the contractor today, had a meeting with the contractor, and the contractor is going to start with some pre-asbestos work on Wednesday. That's going to take approximately 3 days for that pre-asbestos work. What that includes is moving a lot of the furniture and materials and things like the loose materials out of the facility, so the asbestos company can get in there and actually lay down all their mats and everything that they need to do the asbestos work. Fencing will go up on Thursday. We still have about 8 days to wait for the KDHE notice for the asbestos contractor to get started, and then we anticipate 6 to 8 weeks for removal of the asbestos, and demo will begin right after that. Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The contents of the building, I understand that the building and all of the contents remain in Mr. Joseph's ownership. During the asbestos abatement, are the contents considered contaminated or not? Because I know there's precautions taken.
I think all the would be considered contaminated, but we would
Asbestos contaminated, not just mold and environmentally
well,
contaminated?
I think we're probably talking mold and environmental contaminated. And so everything that Mr. Joseph has, he's had trucks over there in the past, I don't know, several weeks, and removing a lot of that out of there. So we've considered it, once we put the fences up in there, that it is a construction zone and a demolition zone, and he would not be able to enter the area.
Is there any further action to be pursued with KDHE to require him to destroy the contents, like the mattresses and the furniture and the other soft materials that have been contaminated with the mold and will be contaminated with the asbestos after abatement?
We have not.
Is that anything that you know of? Is that an avenue that you know of or are familiar with?
I do not, and I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
I'll check into and follow up.
Okay, thank you. What I would hate to see happen is, knowing that he owns other hotels,
Yes.
maybe not even in the state of Kansas, I don't want him taking a mattress from this hotel, because I think that's what he's done, and, you know, cleaning it and putting in another hotel. That's just really gross. So, and very potentially dangerous. That was my only question.
All right.
So, just to be clear, we'll be seeing fences go up
We'll be
this week?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
On
very
Thursday,
good.
we'll be seeing the fences go up, and they should be over there doing some pre-asbestos removal start Wednesday. So you'll probably see some activity over there Wednesday.
Well,
But definitely the fences on Thursday.
welcome to Hutchinson, and
Well, thank you.
you
I'll keep you busy.
put your feet to the fire right away. So,
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
all right. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
I do want to mention something about the Salina situation while we're on the topic of the atrium. So Salina allowed Mr. Joseph, who owns a hotel up there, they kind of went a different route than we did. They allowed him to, or I don't know, gave him some room here to put up a $3 million financing option to... His plan is to put in pickleball courts and turn that hotel and convention center into, what's it called? Storage units. Thank you. I reached out to them today he had a 5 o'clock deadline. So I reached out to see what he accomplished. They haven't got back to me, but, they did say that he put up something, but the person I spoke with couldn't speak to what type of funding or if it was deemed satisfactory to meet their requirements. So that's going to be something that I watch pretty carefully, because I don't think that he would have been able to accomplish both at the same time, which he obviously demonstrated by not proving his bonding capacity. So I think that just confirms to me that we did the right thing as a council, and we went in the right direction. And I'm just glad that it's being torn down. So that's my atrium update.
Yeah, a little more on the atrium. The bond issuance for approval to pay for this work will be on the November 5th agenda.
All right, Justin.
Good evening. Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. I just want to take just a few minutes to celebrate and congratulate Nicole Mance and her team at the Hutchinson Zoo on their accreditation through AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. The accreditation process is a large project. It's a large process and project. It's essentially taking the zoo staff a year for this project. In October 23 is when the planning really began, the heavy lifting of the planning. And then in February of this year, we submitted the official application, which included 300 individual documents. So we're talking 600-700 pages of documents. And then in June, we had 3 inspectors come out and do a very, very thorough inspection of the zoo. And then here just a few weeks ago, in September, was a final hearing that Nicole and Jacob Paul, our zoo curator, attended, where we finally got the final approval that we are accredited. The zoo has been accredited for 27 years, so this goes back all the way to 1997. It's a process we have to go through every 5 years. So what that accreditation really says about us is we are a top tier in the top 10% of zoos across the country and really across North America. There are 235 accredited institutions, which is less than 10% of the institutions across North America that have USDA license to hold animals and to have public viewing of animals. So essentially we are in the top 10% of institutions. The other thing that's really important to note is we are one of the smallest. I think Nicole just told me there's 5 or 6 that are smaller than us that are accredited. But we go through the exact same process that the Omaha Zoo, that Disney, that everybody else goes through. We have to do the exact same thing with just a much smaller staff and resources. So again, I just want to congratulate Nicole and her team, and I would like to invite her up and talk about some of the celebrations we'll be doing in the near future.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. First, I just want to say thank you guys for all of your support, and thanks from the community for supporting the zoo for so many years. That's something that's really special to us. And because of that, we are really excited to showcase from 10 to 4 on Saturday a variety of different things that we do. So a lot of people don't really understand necessarily what it means to be an AZA institution, our commitment to conservation, and the animal welfare component. And so our staff are going to highlight a different thing every hour from 10 to 4, and we're going to have learning stations in between, so you can see that. And then I would be remiss if I didn't do a shout out to my staff who worked hard, long hours getting ready for this. We got our 2024 standards in October, like Justin mentioned, and we were working through those right up until we had to submit our application, and we were even painting and polishing things right up until the visiting committee showed up in June. And thanks to the mayor, and thanks to Enrico for meeting with them, and Mary Grace for meeting with them. Our inspectors came to our hearing, so they can tell us a list of concerns. We address them, but 2 of the 3 came to our hearing specifically to be there for us, to help congratulate us, and they told us afterwards that they really see us as a small but mighty institution. The words from Dr. Jill Mellon were the little zoo that could. And she's the former director of conservation and animal welfare at Disney's Animal Kingdom. So that's saying a lot. So yeah, we're inviting everybody to come out and see what it's like. If you haven't been to the zoo for a while, come see what's new. Thanks.
Thanks and congratulations. We need to have an executive session for about 10 minutes.
I'll give you a motion, if you'll just, one of you will say so moved. Okay.
All right.
I move the city council recess into executive session pursuant to the preliminary discussions related to the acquisition of real property section pursuant to KSA 7543/1966 in order to discuss the preliminary discussion of acquisition of real property, with the meeting to resume at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Richardson.
Yeah.
Garza.
Yes.
Meggers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
We're adjourned.